What's up, everybody? I'm James Finkbeiner, Operations Director of the Western Standard. Now, usually, I'm the one resetting your passwords and answering your questions. But it's election season, and that means all hands on deck. Last night, I snuck out from behind the camera and channeled my inner Corey Morgan to bring our members a live stream of Derek Sloan's announcement in Cochrane. The former Conservative Party leadership contestant from Ontario announced that he would be running as an independent in the Alberta riding of Airdrie Banff. The packed event at the Cochrane Curling Club featured former Reform MPs Rob Anders, Eric Lowther, and Art Hanger. Sloan touched on everything from being ousted from the CPC, abortion, vaccine passports, and even called for the People's Party candidate Nadine Wellwood and Maverick Party candidate Tariq Alnega to stand down. I've cut a bit of a highlight reel of last night's event for you, and later on, I asked Sloan and Wellwood a few questions from the parking lot. Let's take a look.
This, my friends, this is Alberta! And I didn't know Derek Sloan from anybody, and yet here is a fella standing up, and every time he spoke, I thought, that's resonating with me. I like what he has to say. He said, when the oil patch in Alberta is booming, it's not bad for Canada, it's good for Canada, so why are we putting roadblocks? We should make it easier.
A few of us were reminiscing here just before the event started, or the speakers came up. We were talking about the good old Reform days, and they were good. That was how politics is really done. And as we organized and we ran in that first campaign back in 1993, what happened? The Progressive Conservative Party was given a gut punch, and they went from a majority to 2 seats in the House. 2. They couldn't believe their fortune. They were very, very upset about it, let's put it that way. But that is what needs to happen again today. I think it's the Conservatives that have lost their way. We know what Trudeau's all about. We know what the NDP is all about. But it's the Conservatives that need another gut punch. They have lost their way, and they need to be replaced. The unfortunate part is that there's a lot of collusion going on in the East amongst all these parties. It happened back in 1993. They would all get together, and they would try to trap, trick, cause all kinds of grief for the reformers, and they're doing it again. The incumbent MP out here, Blake Richards, has to go. He has done enough damage. Folks, I would like you to welcome Mr. Derek Sloan, MP, to this stage.
Listen, I believe that Canadians are ready for change. And myself and my team have traveled to over 15 Alberta towns and cities in the last couple of weeks. And we're seeing crowds just like this in almost every single one of them. So we are starting a movement that's going to spread across the country. But for the next 33 and a half days, we're going to take a brief hiatus right here in Banff, Airdrie. I'm sick of Conservatives apologizing for their values. It's okay if you apologize when you make a mistake, but you should never apologize for your core values that you stand for. This leadership race had, as far as we can tell, the highest entry requirements of any leadership race in the entire world. In terms of the money that was required to get in terms of the time frame, it would have been cheaper to run for President of the United States than to run for leader of the Conservative Party. And our message of positive, proactive, never backing down, whether it's controversial or not controversial, struck a tone with Canadians who are sick of politically correct leadership. They're sick of politicians telling them nothing when they speak. Things were not going well in Ottawa, and after 4 or 5 months of attempting to play as a team member in Ottawa, I was unceremoniously kicked out of the Conservative Party. It was ostensibly for a $131 donation that had been made apparently by somebody who's racist. It didn't matter that we'd received 13,000 separate donations, raised nearly $1.4 million, that the Conservative Party had accepted their cut of that $131, that they had processed it on their own website, that they had allowed this person to become a member, that this person had voted in the leadership race, that they had examined his license, that he donated under a name that was not known well. None of that mattered, and I was kicked out. They have virtually assured that that riding will go to the Liberals. They put a brand new person in after ripping the person out against the wishes of the riding. And O'Toole has said that he wants to win. There was no stand federally against the lockdowns that destroyed thousands of businesses across the country and right here in Alberta. There was no offering or talking about alternative treatments for COVID that are being used all over the world. There was no stand against mandatory quarantining. In hotels where your family doesn't know where you're going and you're being taken by people you don't know who they are. And now they want to bring mandatory vaccines for every man, woman, and soon child. Almost worse than this, the Liberals want to censor the internet so that anyone who doesn't agree with them will be silenced. The Liberals also want to push, well, and the Conservatives, frankly, shamefully, damaging climate policies that will shut Alberta down for good. It was only a few months ago that Justin Trudeau said, oh, mandatory vaccines, no, that would be divisive and harmful. Vaccine passports would divide the country. But now that he thinks he can gain a few points in the polls, he's not afraid to say exactly the opposite of what he said only a few months ago. It's shameful. He's also willing to trample on just about every liberty we have, whether it's religious liberty, freedom of conscience, freedom to choose what medical treatments you want. Just this past week, the Liberals are making this election about abortion again, which they do it every time, and I tell the Conservatives, you have to stop running away. But they're doing it again, and now they're going so far to say that being pro-choice means that only women get choices, doctors don't. As if a doctor should have to perform an abortion or a euthanasia if it goes against their conscience. I don't think they're actually going to do that, but this is the lows that the Liberals will go to foment their following and to double down on toxic policies of division. This is the extreme to which Justin Trudeau is willing to go. And I just want to say today, mark my words, you will not get away with this, Justin Trudeau. You will not get away with this. It is shameful. Every trick in his book is about pitting Easterners against Westerners, black people against white people, men against women, Indigenous against Europeans, and vaccinated against unvaccinated. This division needs to stop. But in all of this, where were the Conservatives? Where was Aaron O'Toole? Albertans trusted you to stand up for them. They trusted you to stand up to Justin Trudeau when he was dividing and conquering here in the West. But instead, you stood silent when we had the greatest crisis in this country in peacetime. You stood by. You stared your MPs into silence. There's many of them that were questioning these lockdowns, many of them questioning many things. And yet, you forced them to be silent this whole time. It's shameful. And your MP in this riding, as whip, was calling MPs behind the scenes and telling them to be quiet and telling them to vote for Liberal legislation. It's shameful. The party and the leader stood silent when tens of thousands of Canadians had their businesses closed. Well, eating disorders, anxiety disorders skyrocketed, suicides, domestic violence, overdoses. Nothing. They said nothing about alternative treatments for COVID, nothing about different ways of addressing the problem. They stood silent. The only thing they could say was buy more vaccines, vaccinate people faster. The silence was deafening, and it came at a point in our history where we needed someone to stand, and no one did. They said nothing when pastors were going to jail. They said nothing when Justin Trudeau would go to his Black Lives Matter rallies with his cabinet, and pastors were trying to open their churches and they were going to jail. They said nothing. They didn't say anything about the mandatory hotel quarantining until several women got assaulted. Do we have to be assaulted before the Conservatives will stand up for our rights in this country? I don't trust them at all. What about the pledge he wrote with his own hand? He would never bring in a carbon tax. You remember that pledge? How long did that last? A few months? The leader failed to stand up for Alberta's energy independence by being in favor of the Paris Agreement and by being in favor of carbon taxation and other climate alarmist methods. He also said that he could afford to lose some votes in Alberta. I think that wish may come true. The leader failed to stand up for conservative values, and he even voted against a bill by Kathy Wagenthal, someone in his own caucus, a private member's bill, and it was a bill that wanted to address sex-selective abortion. When an abortion happens only because the person doesn't want that particular gender of baby. It's something that most Canadians are actually against, about 80%, depending on what poll you're looking at. The Liberals are once again turning this election into abortion. It doesn't matter how many times O'Toole marches in parades or says he's pro-choice or votes against his own members' bills. The Liberals always campaign on controversy. That's what they do. They campaign on division. That's why I've said that Conservatives must stand strong. It's time, and I'd like to say right now, I want to put cowardly MPs on notice. When you take your constituents for granted, when you care more about Ottawa than you do your own constituents, we're going to come for you. This will be a shot across the bow to the Conservatives, but many other people in this country. We will target those cowardly MPs. We will win this riding, and we will extend this movement across the whole country. So if you haven't gathered it already, I would like to tell you officially that I have decided to run in this riding, in this election. Listen, we've done our homework. We have excellent support here. And I'm telling you right now, there is no chance that a Liberal or an NDP is going to win this riding. This is a two-horse race. It's going to be Blake or it's going to be me. I'm telling you that right now. If you like the Maverick or PPC, God bless you and God bless both of those parties, okay? But support them in a different riding, okay? Because this is going to be a two-horse race. We've done our homework, okay? No offense, okay? God bless both of those parties. But just let us have this slice of the pie, because I'm telling you, we've done our homework. It's going to be Blake or me. We've done our homework. We know how this is shaping up, okay? But don't worry, the NDP and Liberals cannot win, okay? We've looked at it. There's no way, okay? There's no way. There's no chance. I want every single freedom-loving Albertan to come to this riding and flood it with our message, because we are going to take this riding. So join with me in these next 34 days as we take this riding back. It will be a litmus test of what is to come next. But after that, it's all the way to Ottawa. Thank you so much. God bless you and God bless Alberta. Thank you.
I am here with Derek Sloan, who has just announced that he is running as an independent in the riding of Banff Airdrie. And I was just wondering, why Alberta?
Well, we started our movement out in Alberta, and by that movement I mean the True North movement. We have party paperwork in. It has not been accepted in time for this early election that was called out of a sense of entitlement by Justin Trudeau. So we decided to run, some candidates in some areas. I felt that the Alberta needed to have one of our candidates out here, and as the leader of this movement, I wanted to, stake my territory in an area that is held by the whip of the Conservative Party. He's the one that's twisting arms behind the scenes, that's, making all the MPs follow O'Toole's dictates. If anybody in Alberta needs to be targeted, it's this fellow. And I also like the area, and we have a lot of support here. But I wanted to be sure that my running had symbolic overtures to it on every level, and I think that this is the perfect riding for that.
So this is just the start then. Does that mean there is going to be a party coming?
Yes, there will be a party coming soon. In this election, we're going to be running technically as independents. Whoever wins from this election will of course join my party. After election, we'll continue touring and building the movement. I believe that this election will end again in a minority, probably for Justin Trudeau, and hopefully we'll have another election very soon when I believe more corruption will come out in relation to the handling of COVID and things like this. So I'm going to be fighting hard in this election, but then preparing to fight even stronger in the election to come.
Do you have candidates running aligned with you in any of the other ridings?
So I will be making more announcements soon, but I'm not at liberty to say anything more tonight other than the fact that I will be riding in Banff Airdrie.
We can't sneak that out of you. Are you going to promise the Western Standard the scoop when you're ready?
Well, I promise to talk to you if you reach out to me. But I like what you guys are doing, and I will certainly, you guys will be, on my list of people to notify when that time comes.
Who do you think your biggest challengers are going to be in this riding? Are you concerned about the People's Party or the Maverick Party at all, or you just have your sights set on the CPC?
Well, this is going to be a two-horse race. It's going to be Blake Richards and Derek Sloan. We've done our homework. We know the support that we have here. More or less, things change. But the hope is that for those that are supporting the Maverick and the PPC, God bless both of those parties, but support them in one of the other 337 ridings in this country. This is a riding that symbolically, for me to win, is good for any of us. It shows that the Conservatives are, pregnable, and that it's symbolic for all three of, myself and the other two parties. So I just ask them to stand down in whatever way they can, and I'd be happy to maybe help them in some other riding. But this is a riding that only I can win, and we know that based on the support levels that we've seen. So a PPC or Maverick candidate is just going to detract from my potential to win against Blake. So I'm glad what they're doing in other ridings, but let me have a run at Blake here. Let me settle this once and for all, and it'll be good for all of us.
What kind of events do you have coming up that the Western Standard members might be interested in?
Well, so right now we're not doing our Alberta tour anymore. That's on hold. I'll be only in this riding. I would say look at my Facebook page, go to my website dereksloan.ca, sign up for my emails, and you'll be kept in the loop for everything that I'm doing. Even more than that, volunteer. Freedom-loving Albertans, come down to Banff Airdrie. Let's show the establishment political elite in this country what we can do. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I guess you just said what your website is, but is there any other places that people can find information on you?
So I am on Twitter. I am on Facebook. The best thing is to sign up for my emails because you will get all of the latest breaking news directly from me.
Awesome. Well, I am here with Derek Sloan, and thank you very much. We appreciate it. We'll hope we'll chat soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Glad to be
you.
here.
All right, so I am here with Nadine Wellwood, and we just finished watching Derek Sloan's announcement that he is going to be running as an independent in the riding for Banff Airdrie, and Nadine's running with the PPC, and I was just wondering, what are your thoughts on Derek running in your riding?
Well, let's start with, I didn't actually watch Derek Sloan, although I was getting the play-by-play via text and supporters. I was actually walking my dog because I live here. Imagine that. We have an Ontario politician that thinks that he can parachute his way into a rural riding in Alberta and steal an Albertan seat. He's got another thing coming.
So is Derek running? Is that going to change how you do your campaign, or are you going to keep the course that you're already going with?
You know what? Thank you, Derek Sloan, because I think he's going to bring more attention press-wise to this riding, and that will bring more press and attention to the real issues that are going on in this country. And, you know, Derek Sloan has made a commitment to be here for 33 days. 33 days. He's got the support of a couple of washed-up Reform Party politicians, and he thinks he's going to win this riding. Absolutely not going to happen. Albertans are tired of Ottawa, and we need less Ottawa in this province, and especially in this riding.
So the last campaign, you did fairly well against the CPC candidate, and now we're looking at another, I guess, popular former CPC candidate, former CPC leadership candidate coming in. Do you see any sort of vote split happening? And do you think that vote split would happen in your favor, or do you think a Liberal could end up sneaking past the group of Conservatives?
I don't think we can see a Liberal or an NDP sneak into this riding. I think the riding has a very, very strong Conservative base. Splitting the vote conservatively, I don't think is a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. Blake has got some competition. We did, and Blake, I think, will admit, we did a good campaign the last time around, and without the fear of an anti-Trudeau vote, I think last time we would have done far better. I've already got far more support, I think, this time around, because people know Aaron O'Toole is not going to win. Justin Trudeau is going to get in, so this time they're free to vote for what they want. And Albertans are sick and tired of being told from Ottawa what we're going to do, and they're tired of no opposition. There has been no opposition from the Conservative Party of Canada. They have folded on carbon tax. They have folded on everything that has mattered to Albertans. And they see it. They see it. Blake has lost a lot of support in this riding, and I'm full steam ahead. I'm more charged and ready to go now than ever. Awesome.
So I think a lot of people are going to find that Derek Sloan seems to be a one-issue candidate. How do you see the issues in this riding for you?
So with Derek Sloan, from what I've heard of him speak, he ran a leadership campaign for the Conservative Party of Canada, basically on Maxime Bernier's platform. He has had no original thought. There's nothing new. He is a one-trick pony. Everything for him is going to be about abortion and social conservative issues. That's not the key issues in this riding right now. I think fundamentally my campaign is going to focus on fundamental rights and freedoms, which are being attacked. I mean, you're in the press, censorship, oppression. If we lose our right, our ability to freely, openly debate ideas, to our own ability to have our own thoughts, I'm going, we are not living in a free society anymore. That, I think, is the number one issue that is on the minds of so many people. You got the Liberals who are trying to force individuals to take medical intervention that they don't want. And that's an issue. And it's not about the vaccine. It's about our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which were put into place to protect us in times of crisis. So we had a principle, we had a foundation to come back on with calm heads to say, this is what we believe in. And that's freedom. And then fiscal responsibility. You know, that's a huge one here in this riding. People are tired of the government spending. We need smaller government. We need government to get out of Albertans' way. Please, just get out of our way. We know what we need to do to recover. Absolutely. And it's not a she recovery either. It's a recovery. What an insult to women when Justin Trudeau came out with his she session. And I as a chartered investment manager, I just sat back and went, who takes this man seriously? And no opposition.
So where does your campaign go from here now? What do you have planned? What's around the corner for you?
Well, interestingly enough, there is going to be in Jensen Park on Saturday a celebration of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. How timely is that? And I will be there to meet and greet anybody who wishes to speak with me. We also have some events here on Saturday in Cochrane. We have our fair, we have our barn dance and the bull riding, lots of activities. I will be out and about. And of course, we're full steam ahead. As you can see, I was fully prepared for this today. Fully prepared. We knew this was coming. We had a press release as soon as I heard, yep, he's running. Saw his poster, Banff Airdrie, it was hit play. So we're going full steam ahead. There'll be lots of door knocking. We've got our rack cards. We're organized. We've got our signs out. Most people called me and went, good job on the signs. We're ready to go.
Yeah, there's absolutely a ton of them coming in here. So if the Western Standard members are interested in learning more about you, where can they find your information?
NadineWellwood.ca is my website. That will take you to my Facebook, my Twitter, my YouTube, where you can watch my response that I recorded actually today and read the press release in response to Derek Sloan's announcement. And issues such as inflation, issues such as Afghanistan, which I've been asked about. You'll find pre-recordings that I will be releasing pretty much every day, I suspect now, until the election is called.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for this, Nadine. Nadine Wellwood is the candidate for the People's Party of Canada for the riding of Banff Airdrie.